Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. I'm Lee Showquist. I'm the Marketing Director here at Campbell & Company. Welcome to today's webinar, Gearing Up for Giving Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, September 21st. We're broadcasting live here from Chicago. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. Before we kick things off here, I'd like to go over just a few logistics. So you might want to close any programs that you might have open right now, other than, of course, go to webinar. Call in using a telephone instead of using your computer speakers. If you have a cell phone close by your computer right now, what you want to do is sort of just move that away a little bit to eliminate any kind of feedback. And if you experience any sort of visual issues, you can certainly send a chat directly to us here, or contact Go2 at 800-263-6317. Today's webinar will last about 60 minutes, and for participating today, you'll earn one continuing education credit with CFRE International. Later today, you'll also receive an email from GoToWebinar that includes information on how to download your certificate, as well as a PDF of the presentation that you're about to see. The webinar is also being recorded, so you'll get a link to that recording as well. And as always, we want to remind you that we welcome questions throughout the webinar. If you think of something that you want a little more information on, or something comes up, certainly just type that into the question box there on the right-hand side of your screen into the control panel. If we can work that question in during the session today, we will, but we will also hold some time at the end of the webinar for kind of Q&A session. Now I'd like to introduce you to our speaker, Caitlin Bristow, consultant here at Campbell & Company. In her work here, she brings sort of a unique combination of both development experience and then a background that includes legal training and education. And during her time in law school, she sort of crafted her education to complement the passion that she's got for nonprofit and particularly higher education sector as well. She really enjoys helping clients understand their reach and kind of overall impact in the surrounding community, and also assisting with kind of figuring out the strategic planning process to ensure that the organization's future as well as the mission and vision are all sort of aligned. So I'd like to turn it over to Caitlin. Caitlin, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Lee. I'm excited to be joining all of you today for our webinar. Giving Tuesday is in its 5th year now, and it's become a mainstay in our fundraising programs, especially in our year-end fundraising. And so here at Campbell & Company, we have been talking with our friends and clients about Giving Tuesday for about 3 years now. And in those 3 years, we have developed a toolkit. Each year we have developed a new toolkit. This year we're on version 3.0. And we take information that we receive from our clients and friends through this webinar, as well as other outreach in the community, specific in the Chicago area, but in all of our locations across the country, to figure out what our clients and friends want to learn about Giving Tuesday and how it's evolved from its beginning. So our toolkit is located as an attachment to this webinar, so you can access it now if you'd like, or after this presentation, you'll be able to get supplemental information on what we talk about this afternoon. So I'd like to start off with a quick poll. So we'd like to figure out kind of who's on the phone, who's listening, and whether you've participated in Giving Tuesday in the past. So you'll see a screen pop up on your screen, and if you could just answer whether you have participated in Giving Tuesday in the previous years. So this webinar will be relevant today whether you're in your 5th year of Giving Tuesday and you have increased your support each year, or if you're just starting out. It'll also be very relevant if you are an organization who is considering whether you even want to try Giving Tuesday. If it's something that you've talked with your staff and volunteers about and you're still on the fence, hopefully some of the things that we talk about today will help you make that decision. Okay, great. We can share the results of that poll. So 69% of the individuals who are listening today have participated in Giving Tuesday, so that's great. Hopefully this presentation will allow you to strengthen the plans that you already have in place for the previous years and really give you a boost to your planning for this year. And 31% of you have not yet participated in Giving Tuesday, so maybe you're on the fence, maybe you are already starting to jumpstart your plans for the year, so it's exciting nonetheless, and hopefully this will touch on many plans for Giving Tuesday and really help you to shape your vision for the day. So one thing we've talked with our clients and our friends about throughout the year is how Giving Tuesday fits into the big picture. So a lot of the organizations, I'm sure, on the phone and joining us today have likely finished their development and fundraising plans over the summer. I know it's a very busy time to talk with volunteers and staff members about where you want to take the next fiscal year and where you want to go with your fundraising efforts. So we want to think about how Giving Tuesday fits into those plans for your department. And also, many of you might be also in the middle of strategic planning, or you finished your strategic planning. And so how does Giving Tuesday really fit into the goals and the vision of your organization as a whole? We're not operating in a silo here. I think that that's important to think about. So Giving Tuesday is just one day out of the year, but it can really be used to jumpstart fundraising efforts and to really support your reach to many donors and constituents. It's a great opportunity to open the door to new donors. So those donors that you haven't been able to reach through more traditional methods, which we'll talk a little bit about more later. And it also helps to build an understanding of the power of philanthropy. We talk with our clients all the time about building a culture of philanthropy and really doing that from the ground up. So how are you engaging your staff members, your volunteers, and potential supporters, and really getting them to understand the power of the philanthropy and how that affects your organization, but also organizations that other individuals are part of. It's also an opportunity to integrate new donors into the annual giving base. This is a question we received a lot last year in the webinar and other conversations that we had with our clients, that how do we integrate Giving Tuesday into annual giving appeals, and how is this how does this help us build a base of supporters for annual giving in the future? So 2015, we saw a large increase in Giving Tuesday. I'll take it back to the beginning, which is 2012. Giving Tuesday raised $13 million, and it increased to $28 million in 2013 and $45 million in 2015. And you'll see that we saw an even larger increase in 2015. We raised $116 million. There were over 700,000, and it reached over 70 countries. And $107 was the mean online gift. And I was talking to a big group of colleagues last week, and they were really shocked by this mean number of online gifts, because a lot of times we think of online giving as those smaller $5 and $10 gifts. But if you really set a tangible goal for your constituents, you can see that that mean online gift can really get raised up. So just setting your sights high for online giving is important. There were also 114 billion Twitter impressions on Giving Tuesday, which is pretty miraculous, and there were 917,000 Facebook users that participated in Giving Tuesday. We all know that all of us on the phone have limited time and limited resources, so we really want to make Giving Tuesday work for you. So this can be a priority for you in the coming months, but we want to make sure that we're mindful of the time and resources that you currently have without having to stretch your staff too thin or do things that you can't do you can't reach your goals. So you're not, you don't want to be short-sighted in what you're doing and how you're setting your goals. So it may require additional resources. We want to think about how we look at those resources. Maybe we utilize existing volunteers, which we'll talk about later, and we might need additional resources like giving platforms or making sure that our online presence is strong. So how do we utilize our current resources in order to support Giving Tuesday? So one question I wanted to set out in the very beginning of this webinar is Giving Tuesday the right choice for you? So this is a new question that I'm posing to our clients and friends this year, because Giving Tuesday might not work for every organization. So just keep this in mind as you listen to the webinar today. And we've laid out another question here, which is, do you want to attract donors that aren't coming in via the more traditional strategies? So a lot of organizations are sending out annual appeals. They're connecting with their donors via mail, also through phone-a-thons or through peer screenings with donors. So those are the more traditional acquisition strategies that we see for potential donors. So we can think about making a strategic choice. So do we want to use Giving Tuesday as a tool to enhance our year-end appeals or year-end messaging? Or do we want to create a Giving Tuesday campaign separate from the annual appeal? We've talked a lot with our clients about this, and we've made the recommendation to kind of think about this as enhancing your annual giving appeal at the end of the year. But also, if you're looking to create a specific project for Giving Tuesday, for example, we've seen organizations raise money for a bus that they needed, or you know, if you're a food bank and you need specific donations, then you aren't necessarily wrapping this into your annual appeal, you're creating a separate campaign. So that also can be very effective, but you want to make sure you have a clear strategy on what you need and how you're going to get it via Giving Tuesday. Because remember, it's just one day, so it can be a little bit more challenging to reach a goal that's very specific, for example, raising money for a bus or something like that. You can also use another time during the year to develop a unique Giving Day strategy. So we've seen a lot of cities and states across the country develop their own unique Giving Days separate from Giving Tuesday. So I know Louisville does, for example, a Giving Day that was just a couple of weeks ago. Seattle does one as well that's not necessarily in concert with Giving Tuesday. So make sure you're reaching out to your local connections. A lot of this information is found online, and you might have the opportunity to participate within a community-wide Giving Day as opposed to just the National Giving Tuesday. For our friends in Illinois, they have Illinois Gives Big, which is Forefront puts that on for the whole state, and that is on Giving Tuesday. So they work in concert with Giving Tuesday. So there's lots of resources that you can use and kind of have at your fingertips that you might not have otherwise if you explore these different options. So 3 questions that we really like to ask ourselves as we're preparing for the successful effort. This effort will be built on your current donor base. So is it solid? And what we mean by solid is, do you have a steady group of individuals that are giving to your organization on a regular basis, but also are they willing to volunteer and help you get to the next level with your fundraising efforts? And if you feel like you maybe don't right now, you don't have those couple of individuals who are likely to help you with your Giving Tuesday efforts, how might you engage them and excite them about this effort? We'll talk later about how to engage volunteers in Giving Tuesday, but this is a good opportunity to show your volunteers, your board members, that you're doing something different with your fundraising efforts. So the 30% of you that haven't tried Giving Tuesday yet, maybe this is a really good opportunity to go to your board and say, we're trying something new, this fits within our strategic vision for our department, and this is our plan on how we're going to get there. It really excites them that you're moving with the trends and you're trying something new and you're looking to engage a new base of supporters. Your staff and your leadership will be essential leading the effort. So is your team prepared to organize a large outreach? So we'll talk in just a moment about a successful case study that we've had the privilege to talk with an organization about how they've been successful with Giving Tuesday. And they utilize 2 people on staff as well as their associate board. So we want to think about who the staff members are going to be that are helping to champion the effort and who are also working with the volunteers who will help lead the effort as well. So we had the privilege in recent weeks to talk with Growing Home, which is a fabulous organization here in the Chicago region that helps people with barriers to employment find meaningful careers through skills learned while urban farming. And we wanted to just get an idea of how they participated in Giving Tuesday last year and what they really saw their successes as. So last year they raised over $4,000, and their donations came from 32 online donors. And the importance of this is that 38% were first-time donors. So they might have not been connected to the organization at all before they saw the Giving Tuesday information on their social media accounts. 31% were associate board members or contacts. So they really engaged their younger board to push their Giving Tuesday efforts forward. And 4 donors set up reoccurring donation profiles. So this is something that we'll mention throughout the webinar today, but how do we set up an option for donors to check a box that says that they're willing to make a donation of $10 every month, as opposed to this just being a one-time thing? Give them an opportunity to become really engaged in your organization and feel that they need to support and want to support you month to month or yearly. So just have that option on your online giving page can really benefit you. So the Director of Development and the Development Associate really led and championed this effort with the help of the Associate Board. And what they did was they developed a unique hashtag 10for10, which you can see there in the bottom right-hand corner. So they were looking to train 10 more people in 2015. So they were encouraging small $10 donations. And this is their first year doing Giving Tuesday, so it was an opportunity to start with smaller donations that were meaningful and really tied into this hashtag and tied into their social media strategy. They began these efforts in October, which is quite aligned with our timeline that we have in the toolkit, and they had a big push the week leading up to Thanksgiving. They were really effective in creating simple and short videos on Instagram, which you can check out their Instagram page. And you'll see these videos that were short, but they also were very powerful in their message and what they were trying to accomplish. They also shared profiles and pictures of the individuals benefiting from the program. They had really great photography, and they took pictures of these individuals and shared their stories so that everyone else was able to see what the impact they'd be making with their $10 donation on Giving Tuesday. So we thought it was nice to share a successful case story that you can kind of keep in mind as we walk through the steps for creating a plan for Giving Tuesday. So the first thing we want to talk about is outlining your goals and objectives. So the first goal and objective that you probably all have is that you want to expand your reach. So you want to use Giving Tuesday to broaden your donor base and to really reach individuals who you can't or haven't been able to through the more traditional acquisition strategies. So we've laid out some goals here. There's 4 goals, and these will overlap with each other, but it's important to set this end goal in the beginning. So some organizations want to increase the number of donors that they had from last year. So for example, if you acquired or had 100 donors in your Giving Tuesday efforts last year, maybe you set a goal of 150 or 200 for this year. You can do this by creating engaging content and encouraging your current donors and supporters to reach out to their networks and really get the word out there and get more people excited about what you're doing for Giving Tuesday. You can also set a dollar goal. So this may be a more traditional, you want to have an aggressive but attainable dollar goal around a specific project. This specific project could be your annual giving appeal as well. So a specific project could be just the number of donors or the number of dollars towards your annual fund, but it also could be a specific project for a campaign that you're working on or for something kind of in your strategic plan for the year. So maybe it's a $10,000 goal. You want to share your information about the project and what these donors' money will support leading up to Giving Tuesday. It's important if you're doing a dollar goal that you show your progress throughout the day. This strategy will get donors excited and will hopefully cause them to increase their gifts. It also can cause them to make a second donation on Giving Tuesday. So if they give in the morning and they see that you're 75% of the way there by the time they get off from work, it might motivate them to make another gift that might be bigger than the one that they gave originally. So keep that in mind when you are setting a dollar goal for Giving Tuesday. In-kind donations is something that we've also seen seen a lot of our friends across the industry do. So do you do an annual drive at the end of the year? Potentially a Thanksgiving drive, since it's very close to Thanksgiving. If so, maybe it can be bolstered through Giving Tuesday. Look up the items that you might need and make sure that you're sharing those with your volunteers and donors. Why do you need these certain in-kind donations? One really interesting story is Giving Shoes Day. So Dress for Success is an organization, and they on Giving Tuesday did a shoe drive. So they had donors and maybe potential donors from across the country send in shoes on Giving Shoes Day. So that was an example of collecting in-kind donations. And if this is your first year, raising awareness can also be a really great first goal for Giving Tuesday. So you might not set a firm goal like the first three options there, but maybe your goal is to raise awareness for a specific program or for something that you're looking to do this fiscal year. This is a good opportunity for a matching gift as well. If you have a donor or a volunteer who's willing to put forth $1,000 or $10,000 or even smaller than that, they can share and really raise awareness for your organization and what that matching gift might do. So now that we've set our goals, we want to make sure that we are defining our day of metrics. So like I mentioned before, we want to share where we are throughout the day and the progress that we've made through these specific metrics. So we want the metrics to be specific. So what are we reaching toward? How are we going to reach our goals? Metrics help us get there. We want to try to pick one to use throughout the day and make sure it's measurable. So this is an exciting day. Your volunteers and your staff want to follow along, follow the metrics. So make sure that they are measurable. Make sure it's audacious yet attainable, so it's inspiring and doable. You want your participants to make sure that they can relate to these metrics and make sure that they can help track them throughout the day. Are they relevant? So do the metrics you're tracking make sense? If you're focusing all your efforts on Twitter and really just having your staff focus on sharing content through Twitter and Instagram, you don't want to be tracking your posts on Facebook, for example. You want to make sure that wherever you're putting your energy are the metrics that you're tracking. And make sure they're time-bound. Now, Giving Tuesday is already time-bound. This is set in one day, so the metrics you've developed have a timestamp on them. So these are some examples on this slide of metrics that you might consider tracking throughout the day. So for example, under the donation metrics chart there, you'll see total number of donors and total number of new donors. So maybe you want to track these separately. So who are you acquiring through Giving Tuesday efforts? The total number of donors pledged to be a year-round supporter, as we mentioned, this is something that Growing Home tracked in their Giving Tuesday efforts. So how many individuals have now signed on to be part of your organization and to contribute to what you're doing throughout the year? Total dollars raised, that's a great thing to track throughout the day. Total in-kind donation and potentially matching gifts. We've seen organizations have an initial matching gift, and then people reached that matching gift and they got so excited throughout the day that other individuals came forward and put matching gifts on the line. So this can be a really good way to gain momentum on Giving Tuesday. Online metrics, so tracking social media shares, likes, comments, retweets, favorites. So thinking about where you want to focus your energy on social media, and then how do you track those metrics. Email as well is important, and we'll discuss kind of how email can really help propel and kind of move people from email to your social media platforms. They may not be following you already, but Giving Tuesday is a way to have them follow you on your social media outlets. So open and click-through rates on your emails and where the donations are coming from are also important metrics to track. Participation, this can be something that's very important to your volunteers and your board. So how many volunteers and ambassadors are engaged on Giving Tuesday? Do you have board involvement? How many board members decided to give on Giving Tuesday? How many volunteered? Did you have any partnerships? So did you, for example, partner with Illinois Give Big or Forefront or something like that in order to make your Giving Tuesday efforts more successful? And what are your communications? And did you partner with any celebrities, media, or public officials? And we can think about celebrities as not just someone like Oprah, but someone who might be in your community who's really powerful voice for your organization. So how are they involved in Giving Tuesday, and how have you been able to share their support? So next, now that we've set our goals and we have set our metrics, we want to identify who our target audience is. And so we've laid out 4 target audiences that I'll walk through with you now. We can target existing supporters who are already engaged in your organization's social media channels. So they follow you on Instagram, they're engaged with you on Twitter and Facebook. So these are our individuals that we want to target and potentially utilize their support for Giving Tuesday. So we want to ask them to retweet, we want to ask them to share our content on Facebook, we want to inform them of our Giving Tuesday plans in advance. This can be via email so that they are very aware of what we're planning to do and what is their call to action and how we're asking them to help. We want to encourage them to share stories with their networks. So it's likely that if they follow you on Facebook, you're not connected with all of their individual friends on Facebook. So how can you use Giving Tuesday as a way for them to share with their networks of individuals? This is also very key on LinkedIn as well. A lot of organizations are very active on LinkedIn. So Giving Tuesday can be a way to reach more supporters that way as well. We want to think about who might be best to help with this outreach. So are there volunteers who are very engaged in social media that you can ask to kind of champion this effort and to put out a lot more posts and tweets than other supporters? So just kind of thinking about those volunteers as we think about our target audience. New supporters that are connected to existing supporters. So these are individuals who might be friends with a volunteer on Facebook who haven't really engaged with you yet. So these individuals aren't in tune with your organization and what you're doing. You want to keep the correspondence simple and direct. They might not even understand what your mission or vision is. They might not have connected with a volunteer that's involved with your organization. So if you're targeting these individuals on social media or through email, you want to give them background information on your organization. Who are you? What are you doing? And how is Giving Tuesday propelling you forward? Send them a link to join your mailing list and find ways to keep them engaged after Giving Tuesday. You might be targeting existing supporters who are not engaged in your organization's social media channels. So maybe these are individuals who are engaged with you but have decided for one reason or another not to engage with you on social media. So really encourage them to, through email, to follow you on social media, and that this is a really great opportunity for them to kind of engage with you in this different way. I've talked to organizations about kind of restructuring how we send out emails on Giving Tuesday. So instead of putting those icons at the bottom of your email where it says Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, maybe put those in the middle of your email. Make them very prominent when you're trying to get people pushed towards your social media channels. Just switch up the way that you're corresponding with them. The fourth target audience is potential new supporters with little or no connection to your organization's existing supporters. So if your goal, as we spoke about a few minutes ago, is to really raise awareness for your organization, and that is your sole goal for Giving Tuesday, you might want to try something different, like reaching out to press outlets, trying to get a community spokesperson to be talking about your Giving Tuesday efforts. We want to think outside the box because these supporters are obviously the hardest to get to because they really don't know much about your organization or the people who are connected to it. So keep in mind who your target audience is as you develop your plan for Giving Tuesday and who you really want to reach. And if it's all these target audiences, you can keep that in mind, but you're going to have to create different content for the different audiences. So now that we understand our goals, our metrics, and we have figured out who we're trying to target with Giving Tuesday, we want to assess our resources. This is really key as you develop your Giving Tuesday plan. So we have human resources, which to any nonprofit organization, it's the key, right? Our people are who we are, and it really helps us propel our mission and our vision forward. So these individuals are your staff, your leaders, your volunteers or your ambassadors, potentially celebrity spokespeople that we've talked about, community members, and press. So we want to think about those individuals and who and what the tasks are that they can do initially and help you with. So you're going to have to use your human resources to get some of these tasks done from the beginning. So preparing your message, which is step 5 here. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about creating your message and your content. And update your social media channels. This isn't necessarily just on Giving Tuesday. So you might feel right now that you haven't posted since January on your Facebook, but you're looking to really engage people on Facebook for Giving Tuesday. Start posting things about what you're doing now. It doesn't have to do with Giving Tuesday at all, but it can just inform people about what your organization is about, what you're accomplishing, so that you raise awareness from now until Giving Tuesday, so you have a bigger platform to deal with on the actual day. You might be preparing print materials. This could come in the form of a plan, for example. So if you're developing this Giving Tuesday plan and you need to share it with volunteers or your organization's leadership, make sure that you print these materials and you've developed them and you've talked them over with your staff. So that's an important first step in your tasks. Prepare your online giving. So a lot of organizations already have an online giving page on their website, and this is great. We want to make sure that it is compatible with our mobile devices. So we'll see on the next slide a little bit more about online giving and how Giving Tuesday has increased that. We want to make sure that our platforms are compatible for Giving Tuesday. And communicate with partners, volunteers, and community members and potential individuals who might have matching gifts for you. So you want to communicate with them from the onset on what is their call to action for Giving Tuesday. We mentioned online giving. It increased 52% from 2014 to 2015, and mobile giving accounted for 17% of total giving. So if your website is kind of hard to navigate via your phone, it might not be something you can solve between now and November, but it's something you can sort of think about as you fit Giving Tuesday into your plans potentially for next year. How do you make sure that your website is very accessible from your mobile device? You want to ensure in advance that you have the proper platforms to accommodate this influx of online and mobile donations. So this is a conversation that we had a lot last year. What are the platforms that we should be using, and what are some of the considerations that we should be thinking about as we figure out what platforms to use? So we've developed a couple of bullet points here on what to consider when you're choosing a platform. If you already have your website that is compatible with online giving, then you might not need a separate platform for Giving Tuesday. But these platforms can also be a good way to show your progress throughout the day. It's often live that you can see, you know, we're raised $1,000 and we're 50% there. It's a good way for donors to be able to log in and constantly check your progress throughout the day if you decide to go with a platform that's separate from your website. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the fee structure. So some online platforms charge you 3% for credit card transactions, for example, but might offer something on that platform that says that the donor will cover the cost of that fee structure. So make sure that you're aware of how much this might cost the organization, especially if you're doing smaller donations. For example, you're asking for $10 or $5. That 3% fee can really add up. So be mindful of that. Ensure that the fundraising page is easy to brand. So if you're doing a separate platform, make sure you can put your logo on it, your information about Giving Tuesday, and that it's really easy to brand and to navigate. That it's compatible with other platforms. We want to make sure we are capturing all of this donor information that comes in through Giving Tuesday. So make sure it's compatible with your donor database, your e-news, for example, if you're sending it out via Constant Contact or something like that, as well as your social media platform. So if you post on Facebook, can you also have that be incorporated into your platform? What is the payment structure? What type of payments do they accept? Do they accept all of credit and debit cards? That's an important thing to think about. And make sure that you're acquiring the donor information that is shared on the website. Support and customer service. We don't want anything failing on Giving Tuesday. So are you able to call someone if something happens with your platform? Is there browser and device compatibility? And always talk to someone who's used the platform in the past. Sometimes this might not be possible if there are other organizations that haven't used this specific platform. So just make sure you get you've touched on all these points with the platform and you've talked to the customer service. So now we move back to those human resources that we've really been emphasizing throughout this webinar. Volunteer utilization is key no matter what efforts we are putting forth in our organizations. We've heard some individuals talk to us about being a little bit afraid to approach existing volunteers about helping with Giving Tuesday because they're burnt out, they're helping with their annual fund appeals, they're co-chairing a campaign. You don't want to keep approaching the same volunteers over and over again. But what we've heard in our work is that there are volunteers who are excited about these new opportunities for fundraising. So they might be used to helping you with annual appeal calls every year, but maybe they want to do something different and they'll be excited that you're looking to explore other fundraising options. So when you're deciding who to engage in Giving Tuesday, you want to consider your young professional boards. We saw Growing Home use their associate boards. A lot of organizations find this is really helpful. Are they social media savvy volunteers? We talked about that as well. So what volunteers are on social media posting things late at night anyways? Can we utilize their time to help push your organization forward through Giving Tuesday? And do we have volunteers who might get really jazzed up about a matching gift and they're looking to do something different? There could be a strategy here if you have a donor who just hasn't given to your annual fund yet and really isn't enthusiastic about supporting it. Can you ask them to get involved in a different way with a matching gift that could propel many gifts forward? So maybe there's someone that you're thinking of off the top of your head that really could use this different type of engagement with your organization. This is a great way to do that. We want to be mindful of year-end fundraising efforts. So the end of the year is always really difficult, but we want to be mindful of who else you're asking to volunteer and what some of those efforts are. Are you planning a gala? You might not want to ask those volunteers who are helping to plan to help with your Giving Tuesday efforts. So just be mindful of what they're already working with you on. What are their schedules like, and what are your other volunteer needs? So do you need help with a specific campaign effort? Are you working on a program that you need volunteers for? So just make sure you have that all laid out so you don't stretch your volunteers too thin. So now we can turn to creating effective, compelling, and shareable content. This is really the fun part, right? This is when you get really, once you've developed your plan and your metrics, and you have your target audience and your resources all in place, you get to communicate with your constituents and your future constituents that you haven't yet captured. So you're communicating with your donors on a regular basis. You're already doing this. So now the focus is shifting to potential new supporters. So how might you shift your messaging to appeal to this new and broader base of supporters? So just brainstorm with your staff. What are some of the new ways that you can talk about the programs that you're doing? You can spice up your messaging in this way and do something different that you might not normally do in your annual appeals. So how do you stand out among millions of organizations that have important stories? There are so many organizations participating in Giving Tuesday. So I'm sure this is a conversation that many of you are having on a regular basis. Aside from Giving Tuesday, you're talking about how you stand out with leadership and staff members. But for Giving Tuesday, make sure you're highlighting the importance of what you do and the impact of what you're doing for Giving Tuesday. The work you do stands out, so make sure that your messaging does as well. So how can we create this targeted messaging on Giving Tuesday in order to pull donors in who haven't necessarily been supporters before? So if we think back to our target audiences, we can then think about how we want to communicate based on who we're trying to reach. So we've laid out some examples here of the content that you might want to develop on Giving Tuesday. So the first is communicating the foundation and background. So if your target audience is someone or a group of people who really are not connected with your organization at all, they might want to know your mission, your vision, who are you and what are you looking to do. Illustrate the culture. Who are your people? Who are the individuals on staff who are helping drive your mission forward every day? Maybe you highlight your staff on Giving Tuesday in order to promote the culture and really illustrate who you are day to day. Highlight the value of what you're doing, the projects, the programs. A good example of this is the hashtag 10 for 10 that Growing Home did. So they're really highlighting their value and what they're bringing to the Chicagoland area every day. Promote alumni, donor, constituency, and member stories. This can be really effective on Giving Tuesday, and you can do this through videos, pictures, little short stories, blurbs. Your people are your most important asset, so promoting what they do and why they're involved with your organization. Express your special initiatives. So is one of your goals to raise money for a specific project? Make sure that you're expressing this initiative and really giving details on the impact. Showcase your success stories. What did you accomplish last year for those 65% or so of those of you who participated last year? What did you accomplish, and how has that propelled your plans forward for this year? Feature messages from your leadership. We found that this is really successful with organizations. A lot of organizations even, have this as an opportunity to showcase their leadership in a different way. So making them create a funny video or wear a funny outfit or do something that will just kind of show a different side of your leadership. And also written messages is something that your leadership can put forward on Giving Tuesday. You want to make sure that your content doesn't necessarily look the same as your normal annual fund appeals. Use visual storytelling to communicate this powerful messages. When creating this content, consider these 4 characteristics that we have listed here. So you want to make sure that your content is authentic. We don't want this to sound different from who you are day to day. You have a lot of supporters and donors who engage with you because you are authentic. So we don't want to lose that by participating in Giving Tuesday. How can you bring your content to life through visual and audio depictions of your message? This is important sensory stimulation, thinking about that. How can you develop content that's different from messages that you have published in the past? So thinking about that uniqueness, but also making sure that it's still authentic. And is this relevant? So how are the projects that you're looking to do with Giving Tuesday, or how is your organization relevant to your community and to your society? This is an opportunity to connect with individuals more broadly. If you're sharing your community impact, it can really reach beyond your current donors and your current donor base to show that you're touching many more people that are currently involved with your organization. So now thinking about your Giving Tuesday communication, we have specific guidelines in the toolkit that list out your timeline and what your communications may look like. And first is email. So some people may think that email is not something we want to engage with on Giving Tuesday, but really it's an opportunity to connect with individuals who are already connected with you. So establish an email marketing plan. You probably already have a plan of how you're sending out communication to your supporters, so make sure that this Giving Tuesday plan fits within that plan. You want to communicate with your constituents, integrate updates and calls to action into regular emails. So if you, for example, have a newsletter that you send out monthly, how can you have a little sidebar that shares Giving Tuesday progress and your projects and what you're working towards, so that people get a teaser of these plans to come and how they might be able to get involved? Segment emails by constituency. This is something that you're probably already doing with Annual Fund, and if not, let's try it with Giving Tuesday. So let's send, if you have a specific alumni page, for example, you might have content for that for Giving Tuesday. Parent participation, if you're a school in Giving Tuesday, can be a good way to kind of segment those constituencies. What are the benefits of using email on Giving Tuesday? It increases the awareness and maximizes your footprint. So there are still individuals who I'm sure are engaged with your organization who aren't on social media or go on, you know, just to see their grandkids or something like that. So they're not constantly engaged. So email is a way to maximize your footprint. It also increases the number of volunteers, donors, and staff and stakeholders who are aware of Giving Tuesday. Now that it's in its 5th year, Giving Tuesday is, you know, more people know about it, but still you might be reaching out to individuals through email who might not know that much about it. So having a background on what Giving Tuesday is through an email and what your history as an organization has been with Giving Tuesday, so what it is, how your organization has been involved, what your successes are, and what your plans for next year could be, or for this year could be. That will be a great way to introduce your constituents to your Giving Tuesday plans. This also moves, like we talked about before, moves supporters to your social media platform. So if you have some big icons in those emails that supporters are able to click on that link to your social media platforms, this is a great way for them to just click one button then, which is a like or a follow, so that they're already engaged and can get all of your updates on Giving Tuesday. So we have a detailed calendar and timeline in the toolkit, but we'll give some highlights here, which is in September and October. So now you want to build a following and connect donors via social media. So you might already be very active on your social media platforms, and that's great. So you'll want to keep connecting with them, keep sharing information about your projects and what you're planning for this year. But if you don't have a kind of a robust social media following, then this is an opportunity in these couple of months to build that following, share content, and get people excited about your social media presence. In the beginning of November, introduce the concept of Giving Tuesday, and later in November, share with your supporters that you are in fact participating and you have solid goals. So by this time, you will have built up your support on social media, you will have developed this plan, engaged volunteers, set these metrics, and you are just ready to go at the end of November. So make sure that you're sharing with supporters that you are participating and you're really excited. So in this yellow box here, we just have a tip that the best time to communicate via social media is on Mondays from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. I guess that's when people have that 2:30 feeling, so they are on their social media accounts at work. And November 29th, we want to ask supporters to help get you to your goal. So you're wanting to share your progress to whatever goal you're working towards, that people get really excited. And obviously, we're going to talk about saying thank you and this stewardship piece, which is crucial to any fundraising effort, but especially Giving Tuesday. So what do you do with this newly acquired support? So you have this influx of new donors and new supporters, and you're really excited, and you really want to take them now to the next level. So how can we pull them in and keep them engaged? We want to post on social media thanking your donors. This should happen at the end of Giving Tuesday, right? At 11:59 or at midnight that night, you want to thank your donors for all that they've done on Giving Tuesday and that they helped you get to your goal. Then, if possible, you have acquired and captured all of their donor information, which could include addresses. So sending those personalized thank you notes could be a very, very nice touch. Now, if you have an influx of 2,000 new donors, this might be a little bit challenging as we think back to our human resources. But if you're able to, for example, Growing Home had a very manageable number of individuals who participated in Giving Tuesday, so they were able to send those personalized thank you notes as soon as they made their donation. So it just is a really nice touch and lets the individuals who supported you know that their contribution was really important. Send follow-up materials with information on other projects and programs. So Giving Tuesday isn't the only thing that you have going on. You're able to share with your potential new supporters that you're doing a lot of other projects and programs and how can they get involved on a more long-term basis. And add new people to your email and mailing list. So as we think back to our goal of building our annual fund support, how can we add these new individuals that we've acquired on Giving Tuesday to our email and our mailing list to make sure that they're updated on our progress and our projects throughout the year. Okay, so now we can kind of turn to some questions for the last few minutes of the webinar.
Sure, a couple of interesting questions have come in. The first one is asking Caitlin, in your opinion, what's the best way to acquire or reach out to new donors for the purpose of Giving Tuesday? We've talked about a lot of different ways.
We've talked about a lot of different ways. And I think that the number one thing that we've seen is engaging your young donors, right, your young supporters already to acquire new support. So we have a lot of young people at Campbell & Company who are on associate boards and young professional boards, and that's a really good way to kind of set them with a charge. So here's Giving Tuesday, here's all that you can achieve, and just run with it. And it really gives them ownership over a special project for an organization that they really care about. Now, if you don't have an associate board or you don't have a young professional board, maybe it's one young person who is tutoring for your organization or has been involved in another way. Getting them to kind of champion the effort, I think, is really important, so you're not taking up all of your staff resources.
Mm-hmm. You know, we talked earlier about assessing staff resources
Mm-hmm.
and sort of what you have to sort of work with and to launch a Giving Tuesday campaign. But what do you say to an organization that has maybe a very small
Mm-hmm.
small staff and sort of would love to do all these things we're talking about, but they have to kind of pick and choose and do some things that are going to be successful? What would you recommend in a case like that?
Sure, and I think Growing Home is a good example of that, right? They had two individuals who were helping, and one was the director of development, who obviously has many other things on her plate every week, right? So we want to think about assessing the staff by having a conversation with the staff member that you think may be able to take this on, right? You have one staff member who think, okay, you know, you may be able to lead this effort. And I was talking to colleagues about this last week, actually, and I mentioned that there are probably individuals on your staff who may be new members of your staff who would be really excited to take on this project, even though it might go above and beyond their duties in their role as is. So they might just be like, this is really exciting, I'm on social media all the time anyways, let me try to help champion this effort, even though it might take up more of my time than I originally planned. So just have candid conversations with staff, especially if you're a small shop.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Someone is asking about advice for raising membership versus unrestricted funds as part of Giving Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts around that area?
Sure. We could have added a fifth goal there. So if you're a membership organization, there are organizations that have set a goal for new memberships on Giving Tuesday, but I think you can approach that in a similar way. So use your existing volunteers and your existing members to spread the word via social media, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn might be a really good place. So if your membership is to a professional organization or a museum or something like that, then you can explain the benefits of a membership through those social media channels. And then you'll be able to kind of make sure that you explain how individuals might get a membership. So make sure it's very accessible on Giving Tuesday. So if you have an influx, you're able to manage that.
Mm-hmm. What if you have online campaign that's already in process in the fall? And you're kind of looking at Giving Tuesday and saying, gee, I'd love to participate in that, but will I have donor fatigue?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do I dovetail Giving Tuesday with a broader initiative maybe I already have going on?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we have to worry about maybe reaching out too many times to our donors?
I think that you have to make sure that you have specific messaging for Giving Tuesday. So if you have a broader campaign, it's likely that you've already developed a plan, you already have messaging for that special initiative. So Giving Tuesday can be a way to, you know that we're already doing this, but here's how Giving Tuesday is going to help, and here's a specific goal that will help benefit that campaign. So if that campaign is raising, for example, $25,000, maybe Giving Tuesday will raise $1,000 and it's in 24 hours, and how impactful that might be to kind of help us move the needle and get a bigger donor support base so that we're able to reach our goal for the bigger campaign.
One interesting question, and we're talking a lot here about leveraging social media, and we've talked about hashtags and all this sort of stuff, and kind of using, we'll talk about younger donors, but what about the donor segment that's not active on social media, or that is sort of not part of that world, but you still want to engage them? Do we go back to thinking about things like snail mail for them, or what do we do?
So there is an organization, there are organizations that I've talked to that have used snail mail as a part of their Giving Tuesday campaign. I think it depends on what your goals are. So I'm not sure that Giving Tuesday is maybe the best way to reach out to those older donors, because they might not be engaged or really understand what Giving Tuesday is, right? Giving Tuesday, the name has a hashtag in front of it. So if they don't really understand that, then this might not be the best way to engage those existing donors. But maybe this is a way to kind of inform them via a newsletter how you were successful. Even if they didn't participate, it's a good way to show your older donors, your older supporters, that you are trying new things, that you're engaging younger donors. Because a lot of times that's very important for them to understand that there's someone kind of passing the torch on to younger donors, and this is a really good way to do that.
Well, I think we're just about out of time. If you did send in a question that we didn't get to, we certainly will come back at you with an answer in the short term. Caitlin, thanks for hosting today. Well, on behalf of Campbell & Company, we'd like to thank all of you for joining today, and certainly we hope you'll take a moment and fill out a short survey about your experience here today. We're always looking for feedback to refine and improve our webinars going forward. That survey should pop up on the screen as soon as this webinar concludes, and we also hope you'll join us in our upcoming webinars. We wanted to mention quickly here, which you can see on your screen, the next one is on Wednesday, October 5th at 12 noon Central Time, and it is Fundraising Communications 1, Defining Your Case for Support. So we hope to see you all there. Thanks very much, and have a terrific day.